Good morning, it's Craig here, January 19. I've just finished chapter 3 as part of my phase 3 outline planning. And what I also did, I was a bit more patient this morning. It felt like a more measured approach to this phase. I hadn't been leaving myself enough time in the morning, I think, to really properly reflect in a patient way on what I was doing. I mean, I've been really happy with things, and maybe I'm being a little harsh on myself, but I did feel like maybe some of the time that I'd taken to write and reflect upon things in phase 2, I was feeling like, well, the content's there now. I can just quickly read and summarize and raise some thoughts. Maybe that hasn't been the case. I may have been more patient than I thought, but this morning I definitely took as much time as I needed, and still just an hour, but it was really very solidly attentive to what I needed to do. And I actually went through chapters 1 and 2 again, and I just simply made some bold font changes to some of the notes that I'd made to indicate the really important considerations for when I go back through to answer particular questions or tie things together across the book. And I did that because I'm writing so much at the moment that I didn't want to miss anything particularly important. When I go back through, I'm going to see this big slab of text that covers the whole book in terms of questions and thoughts and links that need to be made. And it's all into tables, it's all quite reasonably formatted, but it's still a lot of text. So I just read back through it, reminded myself of some of the things that I've written over the past 2 days, made those bold, and then I did chapter 3. And it's really interesting, like reading back over what you've planned only a fortnight ago, and just thinking, oh, that's cool. I remember that now. I remember that existing, whereas until I read back over it, it sort of had dropped out of my mind, even though they're big important things and big long scenes that I've written. I just completely forgot they existed. So that's been a nice thing to reflect upon those, and most importantly to pull out, why is it even here? Why is this of value? What does it do for the story? And what are things that need to be considered here? One of the things that is particularly of mind is the sense of mirroring across the two parts of the book. So there are particular actions, particular sensations that happen in part 1 of the book that I knew at the time when I was writing the second outline phase that I was creating very similar scenes in part 2 of the book at times, if it felt like like it was a significant thing to do. If a character had a particular reaction in one in part 1 of the book, and then to mirror that and have that repeat again in part 2, if it signified something that had changed or hadn't changed between those two parts of the book. So that was good, and I picked up on something that was mirrored in terms of the two parts of the book that I didn't really give consideration to at the time. So I was able to make a note of that and say, just remember how this happens when you're getting to this part again in part 2 of the book, as this part of outline planning. So that's all good. Happy days. So that's actually part 1 of the novel now that I've done this for, because chapters 1, 2 and 3. So I'll do chapter 4 tomorrow, and it's good. It feels good. It's very smooth and natural. After I get this little part finished, I'll be going back through the bold sections and answering them really explicitly. I might add another column to the table and just say, well, the reason for this is this, and the reason she feels like this is because this happened, and really give very explicit answers so I've got those in my head, because then I want to go back through what both characters do across the novel, how their trajectories change and increase and progress and make their way from the first word through to the last word. So I need to know the answer to all the questions that I'm raising now before I start to really drill down into that stuff. So yeah, good things. It's all on track. It's all panning well. Um, I think that's all I wanted to say at this point. I guess the only other thing I was going to say is just in terms of routine. Um, I have been experimenting with some new morning routines. I had been hopping up first thing in the morning and writing. Now I'm hopping up and going for a run to start with because I was finding I wasn't exercising enough during the day. I'd wake up and write, then I'd start work. Um, that'd take me through to afternoon, evening, and then it was quite late, and I was going for a run at about 8 or 9 at night, which is a bit late. Dog liked it because it's his time of evening, but I wanted to correct that with trying to do a morning run, trying to do a morning meditation session, and then jumping into writing, which is quite a few things before writing hits, which could be risky because it could push back the writing, and and I don't want that because I like it to be the first thing I do every day, but you can't do everything at once. So I am going to try this where I did it this morning and it worked well, but I do need to wake up a bit earlier. So fairly early rise, 5 o'clock, go for a run till 6, shower and meditate, and then by say 6:30 or even 7 o'clock, truthfully, to get in a full hour by 8, and then can transition into work. So yeah, we will see. That's the plan, and I will try it out tomorrow, and then I'm going to be away for a couple of days, but I will still, yeah, it'll only be one morning. So all good. That's enough waffling. Have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow.